Now, blockchain gets a lot of hate, which is understandable. There's numerous scams, from Sam Bankman-Fried and the collapse of FTX.
Everybody wanted to find the chosen.
To Terra Luna. There's so much trash. But there are some diamonds in the rough. And one of those gems is MarginFi, which is a decentralized application on the Solana protocol that allows you to gain passive income on your cash. So we'll be walking through MarginFi in this video, talking about its features, its pros, its cons, and why you should consider it. So stay tuned. To put it simply, MarginFi is a financial service that leverages blockchain to allow users to lend and borrow assets in a trustless fashion. And what that means is anyone in the world can use this, regardless of income and financial status. MarginFi leverages the Solana blockchain, which is known for being incredibly fast and cheap to do transactions on. So there's several key features on MarginFi. The first and probably most important is lending. I personally deposit USDC and collect anything between 4 or 5% and 20% interest. It's really important to know that the interest rate does fluctuate based on market sentiments and a variety of other factors. Another key feature MarginFi offers is the ability to borrow against your assets. So if you deposit a collateral, you can borrow a certain amount, a certain percentage of the value of your collateral. There is no deadline for repayments on the amount that you borrowed from MarginFi, as long as your account stays healthy. And the health of your account is a function of your assets and liabilities. So this is something that you always have to monitor. MarginFi does a great job showing the account health even before you borrow in this preview section. MarginFi recently introduced a feature called Margin Loop, where you can loop your borrows and deposits facilitated by flash loans. This is more advanced, so I think most people should probably stick with the borrow lend functions. But I've recently been messing with this and it seems really interesting. It seems like a way to further juice your yields, but you really have to know what you're doing here. MarginFi also offers the ability to swap tokens on their platform, but honestly, I think that's best done on another application called Jupiter. Jupiter is tailor-made for swapping, and I think it's best done there instead of in MarginFi. I'm pretty big on design and UX. That's like half of my job in the real world. And I can say that MarginFi has some of the best UX in this borrow lend space in all of crypto. Don't get me wrong, it's still DeFi, so it's still somewhat complex, but they've done an excellent job in trying to simplify things. In like 2 clicks, you can borrow and lend, and all of the controls right there at the bottom menu bar. So they've done an excellent job in making this usable both for seasoned crypto people as well as newbies who just want to get started. I would go as far as to say you can compare MarginFi apples to apples to a traditional financial application like Robinhood and find that it's not that far off. The biggest competitor to MarginFi is Kamino Finance. This is a similar borrow-lend protocol on Solana blockchain. Kamino is actually the leading borrow-lend protocol, and I think they have a much higher TVL, or total value locked, when compared to MarginFi. But one of the key differences between both is the user experience. I would say both are really strong. It's like Coke, Pepsi, but it's a matter of preference as far as the UI and the UX. I much prefer MarginFi. I think things are simpler. But Kamino is also incredibly powerful and has some functionality that MarginFi lacks, but also comes with more complexity that I think could be a larger barrier for people who are newer to DeFi. The interest rates are also different between Kamino Finance and MarginFi. Sometimes MarginFi has better interest rates, sometimes Kamino does. And this also varies across assets. So I think use both. Like, get some exposure to both, see what you like. At times it makes sense to use Kamino, at times it makes sense to use MarginFi. So I recommend both, but I prefer the UI UX of MarginFi. Although MarginFi is a great product, it does have some drawbacks, one of which is the point system and airdrop. In early 2023, MarginFi released their point system and users flocked in. They deposited assets, started racking up these points. However, the MarginFi team released no information on what the points are good for and when they'll be having an airdrop, which is understandable because these can be exploited if communicated ahead of time. However, this also leaves users frustrated who feel like they're being exploited or farmed, as many would like to say. Another thing I don't like so much about MarginFi are how they show or don't show the fees. You have to go dig in for this information, and it could be much better communicated by MarginFi. On MarginFi, your wealth should grow over time if you're lending. However, as it currently stands, you have to track this manually because of the feature where you can see interest gained is missing. It says coming soon, and it said coming soon for like a year. This is unacceptable to me because with a borrow lend protocol, the amount that you have gained is really important to know. This is a key metric, but the MarginFi team just has not prioritized this. And I don't know how long coming soon is gonna last for. Okay, this one is a bit more difficult, but it's also key to building trust. See, in 2020, I believe 2020, we had a collapse of numerous financial crypto institutions from FTX, BlockFi, Celsius, 3 Arrows Capital, Terra Luna. We had the implosion of all of those institutions, and that took down a lot of crypto. But before that, all of those teams claimed everything was fine. Funds are safe. We're doing things the way they should be done. But if you dug a bit deeper, you will see that many of these teams lacked the experience in risk management in the financial domain. The point of me saying this is that the quality of leadership really matters in a financial institution. And in this domain, it seems that MarginFi struggles. In April of 2024, the former CEO and founder of MarginFi, Edgar, I can't remember his last name, resigned in public on Twitter. This led to I believe between $100 million and $200 million in withdrawals. Now MarginFi was able to handle this. Their systems withstood that volatility, which is very impressive. But it's also like, what the heck's going on? Now, I don't want to overstate this. Not all companies have visible leadership, and you can have a well-run institution with quality protocols, quality processes without the people in the forefront. But in crypto, we've been screwed so many times by people who are just running too fast and don't have good ethics and don't put the right checks and balances in place. So we will benefit from knowing that leadership really cares and has the capability to execute. And I think MarginFi can do a much better job in communicating this. Before using MarginFi or any other decentralized application platform, it's really important to understand the risks that are posed. And there are several types of risks, but the 3 big ones are smart contract risk, liquidation risk, and user error. Smart contract risk occurs when there is a bug or vulnerability in the code. One way to mitigate this is through audits. MarginFi has publicized the audits that they've undergone. The second risk factor is liquidation risk. And this occurs when your collateral dips below the threshold that is required by the protocol. And this is when you get liquidated and part of your collateral is sold, and you're also charged this liquidation fee. So as long as you monitor the health of your account, you should avoid this. And the last is user error. If for some reason you type your seed phrase in, let's say, a notes app on your phone or your computer, or you email it to yourself, and for some reason a hacker gets a hold of that, maybe there's a phishing attack and someone gets your password to your email, and now they have access to your seed phrase. Well, they can go into MarginFi and drain all your funds. This is not the fault of MarginFi, it's just the nature of blockchain and crypto. So one has to be really aware of that and really make sure you manage this. You don't want to deposit your savings, your life savings, and be totally drained. That has happened to numerous people in this space. Overall, MarginFi is one of the best decentralized applications in the Solana ecosystem, maybe all of blockchain for that matter. I give it a solid A-. It's a perfect introduction to DeFi. In just a few clicks, anyone can start earning passive income on their assets. It creates a future that's more inclusive, more innovative, and more fun to use, frankly, than our traditional banking systems. However, and there is a big however, I think this DeFi in blockchain space is very risky. And when it comes to your money, your hard-earned money, you have to be extremely careful, borderline paranoid, especially given the events that have unfolded over the past 3, 4, 5 years. So I personally put no more than 1 to 3% of my total crypto portfolio into borrow-land assets like MarginFi. And I think it would be wise to err on the side of caution. And we can see how things unfold. I think putting a small amount in, testing it out, seeing how you like it is the way to go, but not taking a high degree of risk. And if everything goes away, if for some reason MarginFi collapses, you won't feel that too much. Now, that means less yield for you, but I think the risk reward right now is too high. The risk is too high to warrant going in a higher amount. So overall, MarginFi is awesome, but I think proceed with caution and watch how it evolves over time. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.